Let me walk you through the timeline of last night, Friday, March the 11th. The times are a little bit different than what I had last night. Around 9:51 p.m., they get the call, the original call, of an armed disturbance at 1214 LaBelle Eureka Garden Apartments. At 10:04 p.m., a second call comes in about that disturbance. At 10:09, the officers arrive on the scene. We've got two officers, Officer M.P. Fox and Officer D.F. Lyons, that are in an unmarked car, but they are in full police uniform, working a special assignment in that area, so they're close by. So they respond at 10:11 p.m. We get a call for rescue. When the officers arrive, they see suspect Adrian Hagens, a black male, 26, firing across the street at the two brothers, Juan and Ramon Morales. The officers exit the vehicle. They take cover. There's cars parked. It's a narrow street that goes in between buildings 12 and 16 at Eureka Gardens. It's a narrow street. There's cars parked on either side. The officers take cover, do a tactical approach. They see the suspect firing, still firing. They then, Officer Fox orders him multiple times to drop his weapon. He turns towards the officer twice. The officer then fires 4 rounds, striking the suspect in the chest and in the buttocks. There's 3 people shot. So you have the suspect, Mr. Hagens, the two brothers, Juan and Ramon Morales, 1 shot in the groin, 1 shot in the face. They're all in critical but stable condition at the hospital at this time. The suspect fired at least 5 rounds. There was a lengthy investigation at the scene. More than 23 people were interviewed that were there, so we had a large group of people on both sides of the street. The officers, 4 shell casings were found at the scene. The suspects, 5 shell casings were found at the scene. So it was a big area to cover. There was a lot of people to interview. This is Officer Fox's first shooting. Like I said, he's been on 5 years. Officer Lyons, who did not fire his weapon, has been on about 23 years. So the suspect was shooting a Glock 22, which is similar to the weapon we use, or the same. And this is a picture, and Mike's got pictures for you. So 2 different kinds. One of the weapon as it was found at the scene. This one, because it's against the cardboard, is a little bit easier for you to make out, but that's a Glock 22, and there was 5 rounds fired from that. So, with that, any questions?
He fired 5 times that the officers saw, or 5 times total?
5 times total.
Okay, so but this went on. If the calls came at 9:51, and you guys got it.
There's a disturbance. There's an armed disturbance at the scene. So that
doesn't mean shooting.
No, it does not necessarily mean there was shooting. So we have an argument, an ongoing argument going on between these 2 groups. One on one side of the street, one at building 12, one at building 16. Armed with, I think at one point, a crowbar and other things. So when the officers happen to turn down the street, that's when they see the suspect firing across the street. And of course, they're in an unmarked vehicle until they exit in full police uniform. Do people realize that the police are on the scene?
The fighting, though, went on for a long time, from what it sounds like.
Yeah, I don't know what a long time is to you, but, at least 10, 15 minutes. There's an argument going on, and this thing may have gone on longer than that. We have more than 23 people. We're still getting to the bottom of what went on prior to that, what was going on during that, what caused this thing from the very beginning. So you've got 2 separate groups, multiple versions of the story, and we're working on that part of it.
Can you speak to why, what started the whole thing at all?
There's so many. I don't want to say, give one story more credence to the other, but there are multiple stories. So there's multiple stories as to why this all started.
Did they live there? The 3 involved, did they live in that Eureka
All
Garden?
3 of them did not. So I think one of them did or had stayed there. So whether that's their permanent residences or not, I don't know this time. Like I said, they're all in the hospital.
In case you mentioned it, I may have missed it, but you may have said it already, but did the 2 brothers have weapons as well?
No.
No firearms on them?
Not that we could find.
Okay, so they didn't get off, they didn't return
No,
fire.
and I know last night we talked about a gun battle. That was the officer's perception, mainly because you've got a narrow street. You've got the officers exiting the car, taking cover, muzzle flashes, and the echoing between the buildings. So they kind of honed in on who was firing the weapons, and from interviewing the witnesses at the scene, there's no doubt that Mr. Higgins was the one firing the weapon and the only one seen firing a weapon.
At any time, were any of the other residents in danger from any of that gunfire?
Sure.
Did
Sure.
any shots go to any windows, anything like that?
Not at this time have we seen when he, I mean, that still may be determined. We're still, if people saw this go on last night, if they witnessed it, they're welcome to call us. If they haven't talked to the police, I'm sure there were multiple people out there, and I'm sure it was very frightening for the residents of Eureka Gardens. So.
Status of the two officers?
Good. The officers weren't hurt. They're not injured. The one doing the shooting was placed on administrative leave, and the other officer will go back to duty. So.
Any drugs?
Any
No
damage
drugs.
to property, gun bullets, whatever?
No, not that we saw last night. Not that I'm aware of at this time. So I'm sure we go back out there today when it's daylight. Like I said, it was dark last night. There was a lot of people out there last night. I don't know if any of you were there, but it was a, and then when you have something like that, you gather a crowd. There was a lot of police officers, a lot of people, and it was a lengthy investigation. So we're still working on it. It's still moving along, and we'll get back. We'll get Mike, and we'll get back to you if we develop any more information.
Was Higgins struck twice by bullets?
Yes. Okay. Higgins is struck in the chest and in the buttocks.
He fired, I just want to go through the numbers real quick,
Okay.
to make sure I'm correct. Suspect fired five.
Five rounds from
Officer
the suspect.
four.
4 rounds from the officer, Officer Fox only.
Okay, and the brothers were each hit one time, or was that?
I'm not sure. I know we've got 1 shot in the face and 1 shot in the groin. Whether he's hit multiple times, or whether 1 bullet causes multiple holes. So we're still working on that.
Is the officer on administrative leave?
The officer that did the shooting, as is normal policy for the sheriff's office, will be on administrative leave.
And just to clarify, you said the suspect did fire at Officer Fox?
No, he did not fire at the officers. He turned and pointed his gun at the officer. So Mr. Higgins, and you've got the dockets, Mr. Higgins has been charged with 2 counts of aggravated assault on law enforcement officers for pointing the gun at the 2 officers twice, and 2 counts of attempted murder for shooting the brothers.
Are there any charges against the brothers at this point?
Not at this point. There's no charges against the victim.
And what kind of history does Higgins have?
He's got a history. Mike's going to get it for you. It's not very lengthy, but he does have a history. So we'll get that to you. Mike will get it to you.
All right, guys.
All right,
All right, thank you.